How's everyone doing? Today I have a Blu-ray update with 5 Blu-rays. And if you've seen any of these movies, definitely let me know what you think of them. But now let's check them out. First up from Warner Brothers Home Entertainment is Gremlins 2, the new batch. And this was just a fantastic sequel in my opinion. This was just as good as the original. For me personally, I absolutely love this one. This one had so much going on in it. It parodies itself, it pokes fun at itself. It has a really more interesting gremlins. When the gremlins break into the laboratory and drink some of the beakers, and it turns them into different things. There's a spider gremlin, there's a gremlin that's made out of electricity, there's a gremlin that talks. They have all kinds of entertaining gremlins. And basically this is Gremlins Take New York. It's essentially what it is. Basically the shop where Gizmo comes from, the owner ends up passing away, and this big company, the Clamp Company, ends up demolishing it because they want to make a big Chinatown thing where it's like these big buildings and stuff like that. So, they demolish it, and Gizmo, tries to escape through this alley, but one of the Clamp members actually finds it, and they take it back to the laboratory, and, they obviously don't know about the rules, so Gizmo's all caged up and stuff like that. And Billy ends up actually finding Gizmo and, takes him out, puts him in his little drawer, and, Gizmo ends up getting out, and he accidentally, gets water on him, and then from there, all these other gremlins start popping up, and, you have Spike, you have all the different great gremlins characters, all the ones with the dizzy eyes. And basically all these gremlins start going crazy in this big office building, and they're trapped inside the building, and they basically want to get out once it goes dark and terrorize the city. And basically Billy and everybody tries to stop them from getting out into New York City and things like that. So it's just so much fun in this one. Really enjoy this one. You have Joe Dante back to direct, and you have a great cast in here. All the cast is back, and you have Christopher Lee has a little role in here as well as one of the laboratory research scientists, and you have Hulk Hogan has a cameo in here as well, and you have Robert Prosky playing Grandpa Fred, and you have John Glover, who was Daniel Clamp. He actually went on to play in the Smallville series as Lex Luthor, which is pretty cool to see him in this one. And you've got Dick Miller. You've got just, like I said, great cast in here. There's all kinds of different things going on in this one, and it's really unique and inventive, and it's just a really good sequel in my opinion. I enjoyed just as much as the first one. And another thing too, like I said, I enjoy that it parodies itself, it pokes fun at itself. Like they have Phoebe Cates during one part where we're talking about Lincoln's birthday. She starts going off and like, oh, on one day on Lincoln's birthday when I was a little kid, kind of parodying the whole Christmas thing that happened to her when she was a kid. And Gremlins 2 is really cool too because you have, Gizmo with the little Rambo thing going on too. He's got the paperclip bow and arrow, and he's got the little headband, which I thought that was really cute and awesome. And I really forgot how cute Gizmo really is. The cuteness factor is through the roof. And this release by Warner Brothers Home Entertainment actually looks really good. It looks much better than the first Gremlins movie, picture quality and audio quality wise. And it has some of the special features right there. Over 20 minutes of footage not seen in theaters, behind-the-scenes documentary, commentary by director Joe Dante, actor Zach Galligan, writer Charlie Haas, and producer Michael Fennell, gag reel, alternative home video sequence, theatrical trailer. I like the whole video sequence with the, Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck and all that stuff as well, so that's pretty cool, but love this one. Very happy with this one. And next up from 20th Century Fox is This Means War, starring Reese Witherspoon, Chris Pine, and Tom Hardy. Now, I'll be honest with you, when I saw the trailers for this, I was thinking I was just going to hate this movie. I'm not that big into romantic comedy movies. There's very few that I enjoy. One romantic comedy movie that I ended up really loving is Crazy Stupid Love from last year, starring Ryan Gosling, Steve Carell, Julianne Moore, and Emma Stone. Great cast, and Kevin Bacon as well. That was a really good romantic comedy movie, and I highly recommend that one. And also a few other ones are Serendipity and Annie Hall. Like I said, very few romantic comedy movies that I like. A lot of them are just really formulaic, predictable, and cliche. And actually, one other one comes to mind that actually stars Reese Witherspoon and Paul Rudd. It has a little cameo from Sarah Silverman and a few other well-known faces in there as well. And it's called Overnight Delivery. It's the same premise as Road Trip, but it actually came out before Road Trip. I think Road Trip kind of took it and kind of made it more of a guy's movie, while Overnight Delivery is more kind of a romantic comedy movie and more geared towards, couples and stuff like that. And this one, it can be conceived as the chick flick. It's got, kind of, man candy for the women. But I'll be honest with you, like I said, really thought I was going to really hate this movie, but I was really surprised by it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought it was very entertaining. And this is one I would definitely recommend. This is definitely, sure, it's got some, chick flick moments and stuff like that, but you get the perspective from the guys in it as well. Basically, Tom Hardy and Chris Pine, they play CIA agents. Chris Pine is FDR, and Tom Hardy is Tuck, and Reese Witherspoon is, the love interest. And you have Chelsea Handler in here, which I normally can't stand her. I don't think she's funny at all. But she was actually tolerable in this movie. And so, that in itself is a great feat. But basically, like I said, Chris Pine and Tom Hardy, they're CIA agents, and they both fall for the same girl. And they're basically, they're trying to be a gentleman about it. They're like, oh, you can go ahead and try. I'll try as well. We're not going to break any rules. We're not going to hook up. We're not going to have sex with her. We're not going to interfere with each other's dates, things like that. But those rules kind of go out the window, and it's basically, you know, they're spying on each other, trying to disrupt each other's dates to make sure that the other person doesn't end up sleeping with her, and, you know, that the other person ends up, you know, getting her love and affection. And basically by the end of the movie, you know, Reese Witherspoon's trying to figure out which one she wants to choose. She met both of them on the same night, and, you know, she was seeing them, and she said, you know, I'm gonna give it a week to see which one she likes better. They, you know, both have different qualities. And I just thought this was a lot of fun. It's very entertaining. I think this is a movie that, you know, guys can sit through and enjoy. I found it very entertaining. It has some action sequence in it, but the action sequence could have been a little bit better, a little too fast-paced for me, a little kind of all over, a little messy, but, you know, still fun. I think the best part of it was the interaction with each other, how they're, you know, trying to disrupt each other and stuff like that. And this does include 2 cuts of the film, the theatrical cut and the extended cut, and there's 3 alternate endings on here as well. This is the Blu-ray DVD digital copy combo pack, and then there's the back right there. There's the digital copy slip right there with the code, and there's the DVD and digital copy disc, and there's the Blu-ray disc. I definitely think this would be a great date movie. It's got some good emotional moments in it, some great comedy in it, and it does have some good action sequences. It could have been a little bit better with the action sequences, but overall, still very enjoyable, and I was really surprised by how much I enjoyed this one. This Means War. I would definitely say check this one out if you're into romantic comedy movies. And next up from Lionsgate and Miramax is Mimic, the 3-film set. And of course the first Mimic movie is directed by Guillermo del Toro. It stars Charles S. Dutton, Josh Brolin, and Mira Sorvino. Basically there's all these cockroaches that are getting children sick, and some of the children are dying. And so these scientists decide to breed a genetically engineered cockroach that would take over and kill these other cockroaches, and the cockroaches can be safe. And then after a while they thought these cockroaches that they created would just die off, but they don't end up dying off. They end up living on, and it has some kind of genetic mutations, and things happen, and they can basically replicate certain looks of humans and stuff like that, which they didn't know about. And so they're in the sewers and things like that, and they start encountering different people, and from there, you know, crazy stuff starts happening, and Mira Sorvino, Charles S. Dutton, and Josh Brolin try to stop them and basically get rid of them. And these genetically engineered cockroaches are called the Judas breed. And the first Mimic movie is actually a really good horror sci-fi movie, and I would definitely recommend checking out the first Mimic movie. Now on to the second Mimic movie. The second one is watchable, but it's not one I could give a high recommendation to. They find out the Judas breed is still alive, and that they're hiding underneath like a school. Basically the female teacher who's the lead in the movie is an entomologist, and she has all these different bugs, and she ends up, you know, finding out that the Judas bug is still alive, and she's in there with a couple students, some couple kids, and then there's a detective involved as well, and he's trying to help her and help the kids. And basically they're in the school and they're trapped with the Judas bug, and the Judas bug actually ends up, you know, liking the female teacher. So the Judas bug is actually, you know, killing off the competition, killing off all the guys that she goes on dates with. They all end up disappearing, so the police think that maybe she's a killer, but turns out, you know, it's the Judas bug. But it's basically, it's a watchable movie. You got the, you know, close quarters with in the school, so that kind of adds some tension and thrills to it. But it's not one I would give a wide recommendation to. If you're into the first Mimic movie, if you're a big fan, maybe check it out. And then there's Mimic 3, Sentinel, which stars Lance Henriksen, and that one was a complete mess. It's like they try to take Rear Window and add Mimic into it. Basically, there's a guy who's grown up. When he was a little kid, he was infected by the Judas bug, and he ended up living through it, but he's really sick now, so he has like all of this stuff all around him, and he gets really, you know, if he smells something with perfume or that had smoked earlier in the day, he gets like really sick, starts coughing, he has an inhaler. And, you know, they made it seem like, I think on the back here and some of the synopsis somewhere that I read, that, you know, he was a bubble boy essentially. But that's not true, because he can actually leave the house. But, you know, inside of his room, he's got like all this stuff all around, all this like kind of like bubble wrapping stuff, so when you go through the door, you have to enter it. But he can go out. He went out in it, so that kind of like ruined that whole effect. If anything, they should have kept him in there, like he couldn't leave, like he was an actual bubble boy. That would have been better, but they didn't do that. He was able to leave, which kind of ruined that whole concept. But basically he stays in his room for the most part because he doesn't want to risk getting sick. But he has a camera, and he takes pictures of all of his neighbors across the street, and he sees one person called the Garbage Man, and, you know, it turns out to be the Judas bug. Judas bug's still alive. And, you know, Lance Henriksen is there. I guess he was just trying to get some extra money for being in this movie, because this movie was just a freaking mess. I would not recommend checking out Mimic 3 Sentinel. Ugh. Not a good movie at all. And you can thank me for having to sit through watching that to let you guys know it's definitely not worth checking out. But the second one is a decent one, and the first Mimic movie is on here is actually the director's cut. I'll go ahead and show you the disc artwork. There's the director's cut for Mimic 1, and then there's Mimic 2 and 3 on one disc. There you go, the trilogy right there, all in one set. Some very nice artwork. I really enjoy that artwork, much better than the artwork for the DVD version, I'll tell you that. Much creepier. But there you go. And next up is Source Code. This is actually the Best Buy exclusive with the lenticular cover right there, which is really cool. And this is the Blu-ray DVD version. Now, one thing I don't like about this version is it's a flipper disc right there, side A and side B. So one side has the Blu-ray, the other side has the DVD. I wish it would have been, you know, two separate discs. I don't like that whole flipper disc design. And this is directed by Duncan Jones, who also did Moon, which is one of the great sci-fi movies of the past years. I highly recommend checking out Moon. It's slow paced, but it's definitely well worth it. Great sci-fi movie. But Source Code stars Jake Gyllenhaal, Jeffrey Wright, Michelle Monaghan, and Vera Farmiga. And it was actually a really good cast, and you know, I heard lots of great things about this one. And the trailers, you know, I wasn't too impressed with the trailers, but I'm glad I gave this one a chance. This is basically a sci-fi thriller, and basically Jake Gyllenhaal is a soldier named Coulter Stevens, and he wakes up on a train, he doesn't know what's going on, and he finds out he's on this secret mission, basically where he can go into kind of an alternate universe that can still save things in the future. And he's sent there on this train to stop a bomber, a terrorist, and the first target is this train, and then after that he's got to find out who he is and stop him from going forward. And each time he goes on there, he's 8 minutes to stop him and find out who it is. And so he keeps going back and forth. He doesn't make the mission because the train blows up, and then each time he goes back and he gets closer and closer to finding out who it is and things like that. He's trying to figure out with all the different passengers to figure out which person it is. At first, throughout the, you know, the first hour of the movie, I was like thinking, this is entertaining, but I don't really love it. But then the last 10 minutes of the movie really made it for me. There was definitely a real emotional moment that really changed it for me and changed the whole mood. And then after that, it just got even better. This is definitely a movie that is worth checking out. Has some good action, some explosions, some good tension, and you know, some good suspense as well. It's kind of like a mystery sci-fi thriller. I love that lenticular cover as well. And next up from Magnolia Home Entertainment is Angel's Crest. It stars Mira Sorvino, Jeremy Piven, and you've got Thomas Dekker, Lynn Collins, Elizabeth McGovern right there. And I really love the look of this movie. You know, the snowy setting in the mountains. Really love it. But basically, this is a very tragic drama. Basically, Thomas Dekker plays a young father, and he ends up losing his child, and you know, he has sole custody of the child because the mother is basically a drunk, and she's just a mess. But Thomas Dekker, he's out one day, and he's, you know, looking for these deer, and you know, they leaves the kid inside the car for just a couple minutes, and he comes back, and the kid's gone, and so it's this whole tragic event. And basically, Jeremy Piven plays a lawyer, and he's gonna try the father, Thomas Dekker, for basically, you know, the disappearance of the kid, and you know, what happens to the kid. And it's very tragic, and you have that whole small town aspect as well, the small town mentality, all the different people talking, saying different things, and he's a horrible father, the people saying he's a great father, so all that's going on. But the main thing that really makes this movie special is the scenery, the cinematography, really beautiful to watch and to look at with the snow and the mountains. It's definitely a very touching drama, but my main criticism is the way it ended. I really didn't care for the ending, but the rest of the movie leading up to that was really decent. You have the interaction between the different characters. There's a scene where Thomas Dekker is playing with Mira Sorvino's daughter, and you know, her reaction. It's really just kind of heartbreaking a little bit, but it's really, like I said, it's very touching. But again, the ending, I didn't really care for the ending, but overall, it was a decent watch, and I would say, you know, it's worth a one-time watch at least. And again, the cinematography and the scenery, just beautiful. Right there. So there you go. There are my 5 Blu-rays right there. If you've seen any of them, definitely let me know what you think of them. Leave me a comment or video response down below. Hope everyone's doing well. Take care.